So we're looking at the standard form of a parabola without any coefficients. We see the A, the B, and the C coefficients. Now, amazingly enough, whether you believe me or not fully, is that when you complete the square on that generic standard form and solve for x through a process you've actually already learned, when you get done, you're able to say that x is equal to minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is famously known as the quadratic equation. Now, in a separate video, I am going to do the beautiful work of going from this guy right here to this guy right here. But in the time that we have in this video, I will save you that. I'm just going to say we are going to use this, but you want to watch that other video because you are curious as to how does that happen. How do we go from this all the way to the quadratic formula? So using that standard form, we recognize that there will be three variables involved: an a variable, a b variable, and a c. And ultimately what you do is you are going to use those to solve for what are known as the x-intercepts sometimes, the solutions sometimes, the zeros of the equation, or even the roots. All of those actually are referring to the exact same thing, the solution, the values. And as you know, the work becomes just simply taking that A, B, and that C. So we see here our A value is 1, so we see it show up here. Our B value is -6, and so you see it get placed in where it goes. And then our C value, -16, is placed where it goes. And then the work is just simply working your way through it. Now, I will say at some stage you do usually get something that's like this, where it says a number plus or minus 10. And just understand that there are two answers hiding in there, right? There is the 6 plus the 10, and then there is the 6 minus the 10. And so it makes sense that we get two solutions there. So given this quadratic equation, our A value is a 1, our B value is a -10, and our C value is 15. Let's take a look now. So I've placed in my value of B, and here it is again. I've placed in my value of A in these positions, and I've placed in my value of C. Then basically all it is working your way through the situation. This is 100 minus 60. That's the square root of 40. Now you'll notice at this stage I simplified it to 2 root 10. Again, remember that is the square root of 4 times the square root of 10, and that is why I got this value here. And now I'm able to divide the 2 into the 10. That's my 5, and 2 into 2 gives me this value. This is our value, or our answer to that particular problem. Let's try the other one beside it there. Let's move it over a little bit. Again, this will give me just a little space to work. I'll set it up and we'll check it out. So once again, let's check our values. So I've placed A into the A locations. I have placed B into its locations in that formula. And I have placed C where it goes. And then the work is just shaking it out, right? 16 minus 12 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. Now I stopped here because it's worth showing you how we get these two answers. So we do -4 minus 2, which is -6. So we get one answer at -3. And the other answer would be -4 plus 2. So we get -2 over 2, and we get our other answer. So here are our two values. When we're done, we get the -3 and the -1 as the other answer. Let's look at some other ones that are a little bit more complex. I picked this one mostly because of the lead coefficient of 2. The other ones we've done so far, the A value has just simply been a 1. So let's just make sure we're paying attention to that as we do a problem. Again, that lead coefficient of 2 in A, I just want you to notice. Again, we've always been placing in 1, so I wanted to just make that clear that what was going on here. And then but nothing changes here. We're still just plugging into a formula. The square root of 169 is 13. And again, let's just find the two values from this. So we have the case where it's the negative 13. That would be negative 28 divided by 4, which is negative 7. And we would also get the case where it would be positive 13. So we'd get negative 2 over 4. And so we get a second answer there. So one answer here, and then the other is the negative 7. And again, I just wanted to show you that, again, the values for A, B, and C obviously vary greatly from question to question. So obviously we can do that all day. That's not a very hard thing to plug into a formula. And yet the second aspect of this formula that is very nice is the discriminant. Now, do you recognize this little guy, b squared minus 4ac? That's the part that's in the square root. And it's known as the discriminant, is what it's called. And it discriminates or makes a decision for us. And what it does is it will tell us the number of solutions and the type of those solutions. So there's something very important about this guy. And let's show you how it does that for us. So basically there are three cases of this guy. The first case says, what happens if the discriminant equals 0? In other words, when you are done shaking out the values, this is a 0. Well, what that actually does is it tells us that if the discriminant is 0, there will only be a singular solution, or a double of that solution. And why do we say that? Well, if that value zeroes out, basically there's no plus or minus. Plus or minus 0 does not change the answer. So all that really remains is this portion, and there is only one solution that generates from that. Now visually, we'll show you what that means in a second. I'll bring it up, but visually what that actually means is that you've solved for the vertex of the parabola. So when that discriminant is 0, what it really is telling us is that there's a single solution, and that's because what you've done is you've actually struck the vertex exactly in solving that particular problem. So here's an example of that where when you place in your values, watch what happens in the discriminant. As I work this out, it zeroes out. And so ultimately, all I get is that singular value in the solving of it. So case 1 is when that discriminant zeroes out. That is basically signifying you've hit the vertex and that you have the same solution there, a singular solution. The second situation is that if we get a value for the discriminant that is greater than 0, a positive value in other words. Now if the value within the discriminant or within this area is positive, there will be two solutions. Why would there be two solutions? I think you know why. Because at some stage you're going to add a value, and another stage you're going to subtract a value. And by doing so, you get two different answers. So if we were looking at a problem like this one, and we were going to plug that into here, let's take a look as we bring it up and see what it does. So if we're doing a problem like this, we see the values go in, the solving beginning, we work our way down, and at this moment in time, it's very obvious that we're invested in two answers. Just as we just did, one of the answers we will subtract 2 to obtain, and the other answer we will add 2 to obtain. So in this case, we see that there will be two solutions, and ultimately what's happened is we have solved for a value where we get two answers, right? And actually, that happens lots. I mean, if you solved at lots of different time periods, you're going to obtain multiple double answers in solving for it. But this always happens when this is a positive, when the discriminant is a positive. The third case is when the discriminant is a negative number, or less than 0. Now, you know, I think already that a problem is created when there's a negative in there. In the real number system, when you have the square root of a negative number, basically at this stage there are no real number solutions. And so when that discriminant is negative, we have no solutions. Let's try and show you one here. If we were doing the problem down below, we'll see how now in that discriminant area, when we get the 100 and we subtract the value of 104, that together ultimately it gives us a negative here. And at this stage of your learning, obviously the square root of a negative number is something you have no real solution to. So those are the three stages. Let's quickly look at how we do that on our own. So we may be asked to determine how many solutions that we have, and maybe the type and what we mean by whether they're real or otherwise. You haven't learned yet about complex numbers, but that is kind of what it refers to as type. So let's set these up. If we were to put these into the discriminant, again, you don't have to do the full quadratic formula, but let's put them into the discriminant. So there's your b squared minus 4ac. This is 4 minus 4. It zeroes out. And so because of that, there is one solution. So we know that there is one real solution. Basically, it is a pairing of the same value, but it's the singular number. The next one, we see we get 14 squared, and we subtract this value, and out comes the number 16. Because that's positive, there will be two solutions that will come of this, because, again, you'll have the plus and the minus version of that discriminant. In the final case, we see 16, and then we subtract negative 84. This is going to be a negative answer here. And so, again, this produces no real solutions at this point. So the discriminant allows you to quickly determine 1, 2, or none.